Greetings out there in YouTube land, and welcome to my channel. Welcome to the first episode of Battle of the Bands, where you decide what band wins. So what I'm going to do is, because I kind of got this idea from listening to radio in the 70s. They used to, on Sundays, they used to do this thing called Battles of the Band, and they would play these gas records, and then at the end of the show, you decide which band you like the most. So, of course, can't play the music because of copyright issues, but what I'm going to do is try my best to kind of put two bands that are kind of equal as far as their style, the of music, the instrumentation, the number of members in the band. So that's what we're gonna do. And what I want you to do is to put in the comment box or inbox me which one of these bands you think were better. So I'm going to do this show like maybe twice a week. In the next episode, I'm going to tally up the scores and tell you who won from the last episode. And then I'm going to give you my choice of the two bands, because I thought about it. It really wouldn't be fair for me to chime in right now and kind of persuade people as far as, well, out of these two bands, I like this one. So I'm going to save mine for last. So here we go. The first two groups, and they're kind of like a group, but they got a front man. The first one is Rick James, and the second one is Boosie. Rick James came from Buffalo, great singer, tremendous writer, multi-instrumentalist. The Stone City Band, underrated band. They even put out some of their own albums after, the success with Rick James. And that's what I liked about Rick James. Rick James was definitely not like Prince, because Prince cut you off at the knees. The Time can't even use their name anymore. And these are guys that he grew up with. But we're not talking about Prince, but Rick James just the opposite. Anybody in his camp he tried to help, and just about everybody was able to release a single album or a solo album with the help of him doing production. Boosie Rubber Band, Boosie Collins used to be with Funkadelics and Parliament. Tremendous bass player, vocal wise, not no range there, but he got the message across. He was like a Jimi Hendrix. Because the reason why I put these two together, and Boosie came from Cincinnati, Ohio. The reason why I put these two bands together is because they're very similar. And what's interesting is when Rick James came back to the States when he was in the military, he asked his keyboard player, Levi Ruffin, if I'm not mistaken. I know his first name was Levi. Who's hot? And Levi responded, it's this guy that sounded like Jimi Hendrix playing bass. So Rick James just took a listen to it, because at that time, Boosie was top on the charts. He said, we can do that and probably do it better. So that's when Stone City Band was born. So you tell me which one you like, Rick James and the Stone City Band or Boosie Collins, Boosie's Rubber Band. So next is Earth, Wind & Fire and Maze. Now, when you talk about Earth, Wind & Fire, it's like, what can you say about these guys? I mean, Hall of Famers, legendary ballads, up-tempo funky stuff, the spirituality thing. That's one thing that I loved about Earth, Wind & Fire. They wasn't caught up in that fast women and drinking and drugging thing. They were very spiritual guys, very committed to God. It reflected in their music. Their instrumentation is like second to none, because when you can handle and hang with Earth, Wind & Fire song, you have arrived, because it's not a walk in the park. Most of the covers that I've done on Earth, Wind & Fire, if not just about all of them, were done from the sheet music, because you can't catch all that stuff that they're doing in their songs. And they were notorious for modulation, changing keys, and just weird timing, and these unbelievable horn section riffs, and the great ballads, and the Philip Bailey phenomenal falsetto, and their harmonies. When I first heard Reach, Keep Your Head to the Sky, I'm listening to the very end when they're hitting these high notes. They sound like cats. It's like, whoa. I mean, they were up there. And Frankie, Beverly, and Maze, legendary balladeer guys. When you think of R&B music, old school, you definitely think of Frankie, Beverly, and Maze, because I love their ballads, I love their instrumentation, I love their image. Real clean cut guys, great vocalists, great songs, great love, love songs, great instrumentation. I don't think that I've ever heard a Frankie, Beverly, and Maze song that I really didn't like. So Those two going up against each other. Next, a little old school here. The Temptations and the Dramatics. Now, the difference between the two initially is the Temptations reached crossover appeal. Unfortunately, the Dramatics did, and I thought that they were just as equally as good as the Temptations. But sometimes you got to be lucky in the business and get out there, and people know who you are. And unfortunately, the Dramatics never made that leap to crossover appeal. But I thought that they were just as good as far as their harmonies, and perhaps the Temptations had a edge on them because of the great songs that were written for them. The Dramatics had some hits, but it's no comparison to the list that the Temptations had. The list just goes on and on with these guys. Even to this day, they're still recording. So you tell me who you like. Temptations or Dramatics. Which one gets your nod. And last on the list is the Barkays and Cameo. Again, I try to keep a balance between the styles of artists or groups, and I think that they're kind of evenly up there, balanced. The Barkays. The only problem I have with the Barkays is they spend too much of their time trying to sound like other groups. Son of Shaft. They did a song called Freaky Behavior. It sounded just like a Rick James song. The list goes on. It's like they were, and T Connection was guilty of that too. The majority of their stuff initially would sound like Earth, Wind, and Fire stuff. So it's like they really never kind of found their own true identity with a few songs that I've heard, like Anticipation, Traffic Jam, and some things like that. Well, actually, Traffic Jam was kind of like some Cameo stuff. But, again, that's not taken away from their talent, because those guys were very talented guys, or are very talented guys, the ones that are still here and the ones that, no longer with us. Cameo, Cameo was just, to me, ahead of their time. They were a funk rock band. This is, back in the early 70s that they were coming out with this kind of a rock presentation visually, but yet kind of a funky thing. And they were, to me, extremely versatile. They were just as good with the ballads as they were with the up-tempo funky stuff that they slapped in your face. Can't say enough about Cameo. They just, and still to this day, they still recording. So you tell me, out of these groups, who gets the nod from you? Is it Barkays against Cameo? Is it the Temptations against Dramatics? Is it Earth, Wind, and Fire against Maze? Is it Rick James against Bootsy Collins and Rubber Band? Until next time, I thank you for coming to my show, The Battle of the Bands. See you next time.